Thing I'd like to touch on. Here's something I'd like to touch on briefly when I'm talking about cutting back drywall or whatever this particular wall covering is. All these plaster-based, gypsum-based, any of this wall covering board is going to be extremely dusty when you go to try and cut it. And the quality of the dust, the particle, is so small that it'll go sailing right through your cartridge filter on your vacuum cleaner. So if you are vacuuming it off the floor or you're connected to a tool running a vacuum, it's flying right into the chamber and then basically right through the filter like gravel through like a chainmail fence or a chain link fence. It's just going sailing right through, and it's going right through the filter, which is designed to protect the motor, and just grinding the living daylights out of the motor and the bearings and stuff. So in a very short time, given how many RPMs this is doing, a certain volume of that fine dust will go right through that filter, right into that motor, and ultimately get right into those bearings and roast that thing. So you want to knock out the dust from that system. So you want to be vacuum connected to some sort of separator or knockout chamber, and from that you want to go to the tool. So first you're sucking up the fine dust from the tool to this knockout, which brings the air in a cyclone and slows it down, and the material will fall out. And this is a product you can buy. It's a top that snaps onto an ordinary pail and provides this function. So this connects to my tool, and then this just connects over to an ordinary shop vac. You fire that baby up, and then you hook up your tool, and you can do all of your work inside of a dust containment. I mean, there's a little bit that gets past, but even if you didn't have dust containment and you're in your own house, a very manageable amount, almost nothing comes off of this process. So what are the tools that you could use? Well, you have a saber saw or sawzall, but the issue here is that I'm looking to cut half an inch, maybe an inch of material, and if I've got such an extraordinarily long, even if I have a short blade, I'm traveling into the wall cavity as I make the cut. And look at what we've got here. We've got electrical wiring routed through here, and I don't want to find that with this tool. And I also don't want to shake the living daylights as it's reciprocating back and forth, just screaming through this. It's very upsetting to some of these older wall covering materials, like this one here. These old panels, these are 16 by 48, almost an inch thick, cementous kind of a material, very heavy. And if I'm cutting through the ceiling, not only am I crashing into, with that reciprocating saw, I'm going to be crashing into every one of these ceiling joists. I'm going to be punching up in the wall bay when I'm moving between them, and who knows whether I'll find some bridging, or I'll find some electricity, maybe I'll find some duct work and tear the living daylights out of that. Undesirable. I want to keep my cut depth small. And it would be nice if I could do high RPMs. And not this chugga 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 chugga, relatively speaking, with this long sort of sweep or stroke. I want to go high speed, spinning tool, and I want the overall cut depth to be just enough to get me through there. So I've got this excellent cut-off tool from Milwaukee. Now, a lot of times you're hanging onto the barrel of a tool like this, and you've got a hold of the axis that it's spinning around. So now I'm trying to make cuts, you know, in this way. And I like the orientation, the perpendicular pistol grip on this guy. So it puts me in an ergonomic position that makes running this and controlling where I'm going with it really easy. The other nice feature is it's got this dust collecting shoe. So not only have I got the ability to come in and work like this and make cuts, if I'm moving up with the tool, I can select the rotation of the cutter to complement the cutting that I'm doing upward. And then you want the cutter to spin in another direction if you're cutting downward, so I can change that back and forth right here. So if I'm making cuts up, it's working for me, and as soon as I come over here and come down, I can switch it over, spin it up to speed, and cutting through that on the way down. Excellent. I can quickly snap this collector on, pipe it into my dust collection pot, and go to work here and create almost no dust and move very quickly. This is a diamond wheel on here. It's got a compound mixed with diamond dust that's coating this smooth wheel, and it makes extremely quick work of cutting all these cementitious and gypsum based wall covering materials. It doesn't threaten contacting any electrical components. If I run into any nails, let's see if I can find any here, but I can literally cut right down through the middle of some of the nails that were intended to hold this. If I run into one, I see a few sparks and then just right through there. It's incredibly effective, and it's very lightweight, and overall it's one of the best ways of doing this project over this distance that I've ever seen, and I'm really happy that they came out with such a thing. I invested in the 12-volt battery with a 6 amp hour, so it's much greater capacity and overall runtime with such a high amp hour rating on this pack here, which makes this the total package. This has its place constantly on a job site, but for this specific task of opening up a wall, I have no idea what's going on underneath, and I don't want to disturb it and shake it so badly that I get chunks falling off farther than I wanted to go. This is the machine for the task, and it's just excellent.